Since 1998, a gigantic bird has been overlooking the travelling Kingdom Square in Efteling. This bird forms the entrance to the indoor roller coaster Vogelrok. Did you know there's a whole history behind this bird? In this video we'll tell you all about it, so let's dive in. Hi, I am Koen from Dutch Theme Park Network. At your request we're delving into the story of Vogelrok. The plans for an indoor roller coaster are much older than often thought. Already in the 60s, Anton Pieck made sketches for an indoor roller coaster with a witch theme under the name Heksenkelder, which means witch cellar. During that same period, Peter Reinders had plans for a roller coaster themed around the fairy tale The Boy Who Went on a Journey to Learn About Fear, where the transport system would consist of beds. That we have had to wait for more than 30 years for an indoor roller coaster since then was due to numerous factors. Costs and technical limitations were certainly important reasons why the attraction didn't appear in the early years. In 1975, Space Mountain opened in the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, Florida, the world's first indoor roller coaster. Many parks around the world followed. An indoor coaster offers the possibility to combine theming, effects and thrills. From 1981, Efteling would open several spectacular attractions such as Python, Halve Man, the Bob and Pegasus. However, this brought its own problems. Tree cutting, but especially noise pollution, was an issue. In the mid-90s, Efteling wanted to impress again with a spectacular attraction after some quieter ones. Plans were made for an indoor roller coaster to be ready for the 1996 season. By building part of the building underground, it would also be possible to make the track quite high and thus spectacular. Theming was important because it nicely tied in with the path Efteling was taking with recent attractions like Droomvlucht. Vekoma made an initial concept for an indoor roller coaster titled Heksenketel, thematically indebted to Pieck's ideas from the 60s. The plans turned out to be too expensive. It was decided to bring a copy of Eurosat from Europa Park to Efteling. At the last moment, before signing the contracts, it turned out that MAC absolutely did not have the capacity to build the track on time. The plans were cancelled, and Ton van de Ven successfully pitched his idea for Villa Volta. We made a video about Villa Volta earlier. You can find the link to this video in the description. But the plans for an indoor roller coaster were not put on ice. Paul Beck chose a location on the north side of the park, next to Carnaval Festival, mainly because this corner had few large attractions compared to other areas in the park, and had thus become a quiet corner. The North Park was the only park section still missing something for the younger target group, and it was hoped that the arrival of Vogelrok in the previously quiet square in North Park would reduce the long queues elsewhere in the park. The original concept of the roller coaster was presented to the press in the fall of 1996. Vogelrok would become an indoor roller coaster with an Eastern theme, unlike any other. The eye-catcher on the outside would be a round domed roof with scales where water would constantly flow down. In the original concept, budgeted at 25 million guilders, there was no mention of a large rock at the entrance. Moreover, 2 platforms and 5 trains were planned. From the beginning, it was clear that it would be a predominantly dark ride, interrupted only 2 or 3 times by flashes of light. For technical and financial reasons, it was also decided that the track would not go upside down. This way, the roller coaster also better matched the family character of the park. Vekoma was chosen again as the builder. Lex Lemmens, together with Vekoma, took care of the layout, and the design was in the hands of Ton van de Ven. Construction started on February the 15th, 1997. 10 months later, on December the 19th, 1997, construction was completed and test rides could begin, and the decoration department could get to work. The roller coaster opened to the public on April the 9th, 1998, but this was not an unqualified success. Fans were positive about the track layout, but there was also criticism. Visitors found the decoration and finishing level below what they were used to from Efteling. The theme of the attraction also did not come to fruition according to fans. The theming of the track, or rather the lack thereof, was a point of criticism. This criticism was also reflected in visitor numbers. In 1998, there were 275,000 fewer visitors to the park than the year before. This was the first time in the park's history that visitor numbers fell so much. The following year, immediate adjustments were made. The biggest interventions were made in the waiting areas. For instance, in June 1999, a narrative laser show was added to the first room, where parts of the story were projected onto music with laser projections. The second waiting room was closed off and replaced by a tunnel under the station. In this tunnel, visitors had a view of the track and saw the train fly past a large rock. The ride itself was also overhauled and equipped with laser effects. For example, a laser fan was placed at the top of the lift hill, a laser tunnel halfway through the ride, and lasers shooting back and forth towards the end. The changes were positively received by visitors, and in August 1999, Efteling announced in a press release that Vogelrok was now ready. A visit to Vogelrok starts impressively. The imposing facade cost €450,000. The bird is almost 10 meters high and has a wingspan of 22 meters. With this, Vogelrok holds the world record for the largest bird on a facade. After walking under Vogelrok, you enter an indoor garden. Here you can see a large skull. This skull was used during an April Fool's joke on April 1st, 1998, to promote the new attraction. During work in Almere, the petrified remains of a giant bird were supposedly found. The skull was allegedly examined by archaeologists. One of these archaeologists was Efteling Imaginer Robert Jaap Jansen. In this indoor garden, you also find a ruler made of bones. Here visitors can check if they meet a height restriction of 1 meter and 20 centimeters. If so, you can enter the attraction building. The first part is designed as a cave. The observant viewer sees that the carcass of an elephant is incorporated in this cave. This represents the carcass of the elephant with which the Vogelrok feeds her young. While walking through this cave, you see the photo counter on the right, where you can buy your action photo after the ride. At the end, we turn right and enter an Eastern-themed corridor. Here we see a large gate with a bird's nest with a giant egg and some bird feathers on top. This is the nest of Vogelrok. After passing through the gate, visitors with disabilities can go directly to the right towards the platform. Other visitors turn left and go up a staircase to the boarding station. This boarding hall has a completely different look and feel from the previous ones. This makes Vogelrok's queue perhaps the most cluttered in the entire park. The boarding hall is a large and angular space with blue walls. Curtains are draped and the niches are adorned with decorative curls. From the entrance, ceiling lamps hang at decreasing heights. Regularly, these start to flicker while the flapping of wings is heard, followed by the scream of a bird. This effect is supposed to represent the flight of the gigantic bird. On the opposite side of the track, there is a painting of Sinbad the Sailor dangling from the foot of a flying Vogelrok. This drawing is the clearest reference to the story of the attraction. It is noteworthy that here Sinbad is depicted as an older man than the image we know of Sinbad in his trading fleet before the Sirocco attraction. This feels like a glitch in the area. Is this attraction placed way after his adventures at Sirocco? We don't know for sure. It wouldn't surprise us if the Efteling will alter this image in the future to align the painting with the other depiction of Sinbad. After the gates open, we take a seat in one of the 3 trains and a chilling ride through the dark begins. When the train departs, it bends to the right. Here we see the large egg of rock again. But now we see that this egg has burst open and there is a large bird in the egg. Then the lift hill starts. The train rides through a mist that is supposed to represent clouds, after which a starry sky is visible. This lift hill does not work with a chain. Instead, the train is hoisted up by belts. At the top of the lift hill, 5 birds are visible. The first drop makes a gentle curve to the left. At the bottom of the first drop, the attraction photo is taken immediately. The flash of this photo can also be seen as a kind of lightning flash. You swoop under a swarm of 16 birds and then make a sharp turn to the right. Here we see the large rock standing on an island. Shortly after, you are swallowed by a giant snake, whose body is formed by green laser light. Here we find the first braking section. The track makes a left turn, and after a short roller coaster ride, you fly through a light tunnel representing a diamond valley. Then you get a second and last braking section, and the train turns right back onto the station. The track is a total of 643 meters long, and the entire ride lasts about a minute and a half. The entire ride features onboard audio, specially composed for the attraction by then house composer Ruud Bos. In preparation for this assignment, Bos traveled to Disneyland Paris to ride Space Mountain. He did this against his will, as Ruud Bos was not a fan of roller coasters. However, the visit to Paris helped him. Right after his ride in a roller coaster, the composer immediately had a musical theme in mind. Ruud Bos composed music for both the queue and the ride itself for Vogelrok. It turned out to be the last attraction for which he wrote the music. However, not all the music used for Vogelrok is by Ruud Bos. Between 1999 and 2002, an interactive laser show could be seen in the then first waiting room. This show was accompanied by an abridged version of the song Standing in Motion by artist Yanni. Nowadays, music by René Merkelbach can be heard in the first waiting room. In this way, Efteling wants to better integrate the attraction with the rest of the theme area. Vogelrok, like all other attractions in Efteling, receives regular maintenance. The park isn't known for its high quality and well-maintained attractions for nothing. Most maintenance involves the usual work without major changes being made. Yet there are a few maintenance works worth mentioning. In October 2004, the entire facade of the attraction was scaffolded. Both the bird and the painting on the back wall were worked on. The new drawing is of a beach with palms. The drawing is by Michel den Dulk, who is now an Imagineer at Walt Disney. In 2007, the waiting lines were tackled again. For an amount of €300,000, the route of the queue was completely redirected to the route we still know today. The theming as we know it now in the first two waiting rooms was also added during this maintenance period. This theming was designed by Karel Willeme. In 2014, the egg after the first turn was added. This element was previously seen in the souvenir shop Het Valies, which we now know as Jokies Wereld. In 2018, various new effects were added to the ride. The star effect and smoke effect on the lift hill first appeared this year. For the first time during the ride, new sound effects were heard that correspond to what you pass by. The brakes were also replaced, allowing the attraction to run with 3 trains simultaneously for the first time in 3 years. The Vogelrok attraction is based on the story of Sinbad's second sea voyage. This story comes from the 9th century collection of tales 1001 Arabian Nights. The story goes like this. Sinbad the sailor is the son of a very rich merchant. After his father passes away, he inherits the money, but he spends it all on expensive parties. He decides to start earning money by trading at sea. After his first adventure, he is accidentally left behind on an island by his crew. Sinbad climbs to the top of a hill to see if there is a village or a town on the other side of the island, but there is nothing to indicate that people live on the island. However, he does see a strange white half-sphere. Sinbad approaches it, but can't find a door anywhere. Then suddenly it gets dark, and a huge gust of wind follows. Sinbad looks up and sees a huge bird landing on the half-sphere. It is the mythical bird Rok. The half-sphere was the visible part of her egg. The Rok falls asleep, upon which Sinbad takes off his turban and ties one end of the cloth to a leg of the bird. He ties the other end around his waist. The next day, the Rok flaps her huge wings and flies away with a deafening scream. She is so strong that she doesn't even notice Sinbad is attached to her leg. Eventually, the bird lands in a deep valley. Sinbad quickly unties himself, and right after that, the bird flies away with a large black twisting snake in her beak. In the valley, a strange light shines. When Sinbad looked closely, he saw that the light of dawn was reflected by millions of diamonds. But among the diamonds, poisonous snakes were also wriggling. Sinbad knew he had come to the Valley of the Diamonds, a valley no one had ever returned from alive. Eventually, Sinbad finds a safe cave to spend the night. When Sinbad comes out the cave the next day, he sees a dead sheep. 3 more dead sheep fall down the mountain wall. There were men throwing the sheep down these cliffs. Sometimes diamonds would stick in the fur of such a sheep. Birds of prey would then pick up the sheep and bring them to their nest in the mountains. The men then followed the birds to their nest and drove them away. After that, they would remove the diamonds from the sheep's fur. Sinbad grabbed as many diamonds as he could and tied himself to a sheep. Not long after, the Valley of the Diamonds turned completely black again. A large rock spread its wings and came rushing at Sinbad. It grabbed the sheep with its enormous claws and flew to its nest. Before Sinbad could untie himself from the sheep, the rock started eating the sheep. The sharp beak came closer and closer to his face. Suddenly, the bird flew up. It was startled by a group of men who were shouting and throwing stones at the nest. Sinbad quickly untied himself and called out to the men. He was freed by the traders and returned to Baghdad with a fortune in diamonds. The stories of Sinbad consist of a total of 7 narratives about his 7 sea voyages. The whole world of Sinbad now comes to life in the Efteling. Since January 2022, Vogelrok has been a part of the theme area The World of Sinbad. In this theme world, besides the roller coaster, we also find the attractions Archipel and Sirocco. The adjacent Panorama restaurant was converted into Kashba in 2023, which is also a part of the World of Sinbad. Although the attraction was not so popular in its opening year, it has built up a large fan base over the years. As of 2024, Vogelrok is shining more than ever as the radiant center of the theme world, the World of Sinbad. Now you know everything about this icon from the world of Efteling. When was the last time you took a ride in Vogelrok? Let us know below in the comments. We are also curious about which attraction you would like to see a special theme video for. Let us know if you learned something from this video by giving a thumbs up. If you want to be sure you don't miss any of our future videos, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click the bell. You can also show your love for Vogelrok with our self-designed merchandise inspired by Dutch theme parks. You can find all our products at dutchthemeparknetwork.com/shop. We hope to see you again in one of our future videos. See ya!